I've been following you for like the last 4 or 5 years. As soon as I started my coaching journey, one thing that stood out to me was you don't take shit. And when I first started coaching, I was like, it's kind of like me. Why don't you give the audience, for people who don't know you, a bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been life coaching for the last 14 years. I call myself a coach for the elite. When I say elite, I mean elite mindset. I was broke for the first 30 years of my life, but I was still elite in my head, because for me, it's how we think, how we show up in the world that makes us elite, not our background or how much money we have in the bank. The goal has never been to become the highest paid life coach in the country. The goal has always been to be the best coach in the country, and money just followed. Even if you make millions per year, if you are miserable and if you are not excited to get out of bed in the morning, right? Is that winning? I was never willing to accept the old version of my life. That's why I never stopped looking and thinking about what else I could do. I don't think there's anything really worth having that doesn't come with at least some element of risk. For me, the biggest risk of all is to find myself on the fucking deathbed at the age of 80, look back and say to myself, I was too much of a pussy to do that thing that I wanted to do. If you want to be successful in life, you gotta pick a bunch of things which you believe are necessary in order for you to become successful, and you gotta make those things non-negotiable.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast, where we take the I out of Unfiltered and put the emphasis directly on you. This is the one platform where we get to take down our filters and have raw, authentic and vulnerable conversations in regards to the challenges that we're all facing today. Now, if you're a fan of the unfiltered nature of this podcast and you want more of these conversations that I have on the show to be normalized, why don't you help me help you? To get more guests on and to have those difficult conversations in regards to the challenges we're all facing, I have to know what it is that you specifically want us to speak about. So if it isn't too much to ask, why don't you hit that subscribe button right now? And at the end of the episode, if it's been a hit for you, why don't you leave a thumbs up and leave a cheeky review in regards to what specifically resonates with you. Now, with that all being said and done, let's get straight back into the episode. Michael, how are you?
Very well. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for reaching out and then asking straight away, when am I coming on your podcast?
I'm checking my post every day. I don't see invitations.
Yeah, it's I've been following you for like the last 4 or 5 years, and as soon as I started my coaching journey, like I said, as soon as you walked in, one thing that stood out to me was like, you don't take shit. And when I first started coaching, I was like, it's kind of like me. And then I looked at your fees and I was thinking, I'm probably going to waste his time as a little baby coach right now to like just message him to see if he can give me a discovery call or something. So I was like, let me just work on myself in the meantime and start building up a client base, just learning about coaching from that angle by myself first. And then I saw something that you posted on LinkedIn, and I was like, yeah, one day we're going to have a conversation. And then all of a sudden you reached out to say, let's
said
chat.
That. So you did make a first step. And then you said something very nice. I can't remember what it was, but you said it publicly as well.
Yeah.
And then I messaged you, and here I am.
Here we are. And why don't you give the audience, for people who don't know you, a bit about yourself? What is it that you do? Who you help?
Sure. So I've been life coaching for the last 14 years. I call myself a coach for the elite, but I always like to clarify that by elite, I don't mean the royals and people with a certain income. When I say elite, I mean elite mindset. And sure enough, I work with some royals and I work with some very affluent people sometimes. But you see, I was broke for the first 30 years of my life, but I was still elite in my head, because for me, it's how we think, how we show up in the world that makes us elite, not our background or how much money we have in the bank.
Okay. Just straight off the cuff there, how did you go from having this elite mindset, but in the situation you're in when you said you were broke, how have you now switched that to be who you are today? Because I think that's a common problem for people who just follow the rat race, the corporate rat race. They go in, they do the norm, and they think this is their way up. But when you try and take it back from another angle, and I've been watching so many entrepreneurial videos right now, you could be doing the same thing, working the less hours and possibly earning a lot more money if you just backed yourself and had a little bit more confidence to give it a go and ask the right questions to see if someone would hire you to do the exact same job.
Sure. Yes, I was very fortunate in a sense that after spending 6 years in fashion retail, after coming to London at 22 from Poland, I was very fortunate to find my calling in coaching. So would I ever get to the level of success I got to in coaching had I stayed in retail? I would, but I would need to be passionate about retail, which I never have been, right? Whereas coaching was something that I felt extremely strongly about, to the point where it didn't feel like work 14 years ago, and it still doesn't feel like work now, right? The goal has never been to become the highest paid life coach in the country. The goal has always been to be the best coach in the country, and money just followed. I very much applied myself with everything I had, with all the work ethic and motivation and drive and people skills and the willingness to do whatever it takes. Something that I didn't have in retail because my heart wasn't in it. I was doing it for the money to pay the bills, right? So to your question, like how, first of all, you have to find a vehicle that you can use to elevate yourself. And until you find that vehicle, yes, you can make a lot of money as a banker, and there's nothing wrong with that if you enjoy being a banker. But if you don't, yes, you can still make a lot of money, but are you really winning, even if you make millions per year, if you are miserable and if you are not excited to get out of bed in the morning, right? Is that winning? Well, from a financial perspective, you are winning because you make a lot of money, but I don't know about you, I would personally prefer to make 50K a year doing something that I love than 5 million a year doing something that I hate.
Yeah. I think in my world right now, with what I hear all the time, is everyone's just comparing themselves to what their younger sibling has or what their best friend has.
Yeah.
And you look at it from a career perspective, but then you flip the script and look at it from a personal perspective. When you feel like you're missing out because they're married or they've got a relationship or now they've got kids, and it's like, where am I? And it's, bro, you're on your own lane.
Yeah.
You're writing your own story.
Yeah.
You didn't meet that person at that point in time, hence why it hasn't worked out for you. But that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Your story could be completely different. You might meet your partner in another country. Like, relax. Stop putting too much pressure on yourself. But it still seems to be a constant theme that just turns up all the time.
Sure. If my parents had it their own way, I'll be still in Poland. Probably a lawyer or something like that, because I was in one of the top high schools and I meant to be a doctor, a lawyer, because my grades from primary school would support this idea. But then I went to high school and I realized that this is fucking bullshit, this whole educational system. And mind you that Poland is massively education heavy, as in, I don't have a sense of comparison because I've never gone to a school in another country, but definitely the education level in Poland is known to be very high. And here I am, not the smartest of the kids, but not the dumbest either, in one of the top high schools in my city, one of the biggest cities in Poland. And I'm just like, I'm bored out of my ass, right? And I quit school at 17 eventually, and someone asked me if I regret it. And I say, yes, I regret that I didn't do it when I was 16 already. The reason I didn't do it when I was 16, because I didn't have the balls yet to face my parents, because I knew that this is not going to go down very well. And sure enough, it didn't, right? To this day, and I'm 42 right now, I have never met or even heard about another Polish person who hasn't graduated from high school, or like a tradesman equivalent of high school, right? But the reason I'm talking about it is because, especially in Asian cultures, as you would know, right? Parents would have often very clear idea as to what the child should do, right? At least in Poland, your options are broader than accountant, dentist, engineer, right? But it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, looking back, right? Because yes, I've experienced a whole bunch of hardship after quitting school at 17 before coming to London at 22. I felt very strongly about something, and I just followed my gut, my instinct. And looking back, I saved myself from another 2 years of boring ass classes, learning things that would be completely useless to me right now, or the things that ChatGPT could tell me within seconds, right? If I needed to access that knowledge, right, for whatever reason, I don't know what reason I would have to know certain principle in physics, right? But if I needed to access that information, obviously we know how quickly this can be done today. So then coming to London at 22, given that I didn't have any money, I could barely speak English, that was another controversial, if you will, decision, right? Because it's not like somebody said, hey, I have a job lined up for you and your English is perfect, so just come in here and here's your apprenticeship or whatever, right? So that was another big risk that I took. And then sure enough, quitting retail and starting coaching business at 28, having absolutely no experience in business, no idea about marketing, selling, branding, anything like that. But what I did know is that I had a tremendous interest in personal development for years. I knew that I genuinely wanted to help people. It's in my nature. I have it after my mother. I can track it down to my mother. Less so my father, but my mother for sure, right? So I felt that this is a vehicle that if I only stay consistent with it, it will get me to the kind of life I want to have, and it would allow me to become the kind of man I want to become. And sure enough, looking back, after doing it for 14 years, I couldn't be more right.
So where you are right now in life, just as a bit of a backstory to that, you live in the city of London and you work with elite professionals, should we say that? Elite people?
High achievers.
High achievers.
High achievers.
Okay. And you don't fuck around in regards to how you work with them. You literally push them very much outside of their comfort zones. But I want to talk about it financially as well. You don't fuck around in regards to your worth. You know what it is that you bring to the table, and you charge top dollar for this.
Yeah, but it's not even that. I woke up one day and I thought, it would be nice to. I appreciate that would make it for a better story. If I said, because my self-worth is so high, because what I do is so incredible, that's why I charge top dollar. No, the reality is that I charge what I charge, because had I been charging anything less than what I charge, I wouldn't have the physical capacity to work with all the people who would want to work with me. So it's very much a supply and demand thing, right? 100%. I was just as happy charging people £20 per session when I first started as I am now charging a little bit more than that. So
just a little bit more,
just a tiny bit more, right? So just a tiny. So it's always been the case of having a full coaching practice, and I would only ever put my fees up where too many people were saying yes to working with me. Too many people I liked were saying yes to working with me at the fee I was charging at the time. So I think that's unlikely, but if that percentage will not change, I'll be charging what I'm charging right now for the rest of my life.
Okay.
Right? I say it's unlikely because as my experience grows and my
100%.
my positioning grows, the demand will grow as well. Yeah. That's my prediction, right?
And even the clientele might change in regards to who actually then wants to work with you specifically.
Yeah, exactly.
You might want to change the niche ever so slightly to work with a particular type of people.
I think that's unlikely. Because for multiple reasons. Number one, I don't see why would I want to work with a certain type of demographic or type of person over others. I like people in general, and I enjoy the variety as well. You see, I love the fact that on Monday I might be talking to a 17-year-old, my second youngest client ever. Then on Tuesday I might be talking to a female in her 40s, and we're working on something completely different to what I'm working with a 17-year-old on. Yeah. And then on Wednesday I'm working with one of the 20 wealthiest people in the country on a completely different thing than with those two. Like, just the variety of my clients, the range in terms of who they are, what they do, the ethnicity, the sexual orientation, religion, and I love that. I love that variety. And to me, it's if you look at my client roster, it's a true reflection of London.
Yeah.
And the diversity
100%.
of London, which is one of the favorite things for me about London as a city. One of the reasons why I'm here. My clients very much reflect that diversity, except that every single one of my clients, from the 17-year-old to obviously one of the 20 wealthiest people in the country, that's predictable. They're all high achievers, but that's not the only thing they all have in common. They're also very good people. I have a very clear, very strict no asshole policy. I don't care who you are. I don't care how much money you have. If you are not a genuinely good person,
Yeah.
I don't want to fuck with you.
Yeah.
It's just not going to happen.
What I like about that, the story in itself, there are so many people right now in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
They're grinding through. They would love to possibly make the jump that you made towards their late 20s, early 30s right now. They're not happy where they are, but they're fucking scared. And they don't have the confidence to take that step. Like we talked about the South Asian culture, what your parents are going to say, so you're heavily influenced and just following a role. But the number of people I speak to who have like some sort of side hustle or side business, and it's like, all right, you bake, you have cookies, or you do like things on the side. You want to get into the event space and work in weddings and bring like some sort of confectionery items, whatever. You have something you're quite heavily gifted and crafted, but then you really want to like you bring that into fruition, have a second stream of income, but you're fucking shit scared of how to do it. And then you play the easy game right now by doing the bare minimum or doing nothing, and what happens? You stay here,
Nothing happens,
plateaued.
right? Yeah, you maintain status quo. So
how did you shift that for yourself?
So I used the word fortunate before, I think, because I really do recognize that I was very fortunate in a sense that I found my calling at 28, right? So it would be unfair for me to look at someone who's 28 right now, or 38 or 48, doing something they don't like, and criticize them or judge them, because if they haven't found it, they haven't found it. But what I would say to those people is never start looking, because that thing might be around the corner. But if you accept your current reality, so I'm accepting my current reality because it's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Right? I accept my life and myself because I like my life and I like myself. But that hasn't always been the case. But I was never willing to accept the old version of my life. That's why I never stopped looking and thinking about what else I could do. And equally, there were certain parts of me. It's not like I love myself and every part of me 100% right now, but I definitely love myself and accept myself way more now than I did 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? So that work on myself and on bettering my life will never stop, right? But one practical tip for anyone looking to do something that doesn't feel like work, that looks like work to other people but doesn't feel like work to them, is to ask yourself, what is it that you like to do outside of the job that you currently have that pays the bills? What do you find yourself doing in your spare time? Because while I was working in retail to make money to pay the bills, what did I do in my spare time? I was studying personal development. And it wasn't like some master plan because I'm so smart. I was thinking, okay, I'm only young, I'm only 23 when I got into personal development. I'm going to study it for 5 years and then I'm going to become a coach when I'm a little bit older. Like, I wish I was that smart or I could predict the future that well, right? It wasn't like that at all. I didn't know that coaching as a profession existed until I was 28. But I was very much into personal development. And sure enough, it was a classic example of turning my passion into career, right? So when I became a coach at 28, I was new to coaching. I was new to business, like I said before, but I said he wasn't new to personal development, meaning that it wasn't a huge amount of knowledge, but there was a strong foundation as far as personal development as a field is concerned. So I could bring that basic level of knowledge to my first clients. And sure enough, when you think about it as a coach, as long as you know 5%, or as a consultant, expert of any kind, if you know 5 to 10% more than your client, you have some value to offer, right? You don't need to know 300% more than your client, because that 5 to 10% is valuable, right? It's like learning a language. If your teacher knows the language that you are learning 10% more than you do,
They can teach you.
Yeah, and then when you get to their level, you just change your teacher.
Yeah. What did you have to lose before you started to believe in yourself? Because I reckon there was a period where you said, fuck it, I'm going to come to London. Mm-hmm. You're then working and you said personal development.
Yeah.
But there must have been a switch there for you to say, this is the path now I'm going to follow, and this is what it possibly could look like. And I think there's an element of risk that you possibly had on the cards there, and you thought, fuck it, I'm going to keep going for it.
100%. I mean, I don't think there's anything really worth having that doesn't come with at least some element of risk. I'm definitely a risk taker, and I know that for a fact because I did this online test, and I scored 50 out of 50 because I got into crypto in 2020, and I was like, fucking hell, I was really going for it and buying some shit that, not just Bitcoin, but like some really risky shit as well, right? And then I remember thinking to myself, or asking myself, am I fucking mad, or I just have extremely high risk tolerance, right? And I went online, I found this risk assessment or risk tolerance quiz, and you could end up at 0, which is like super risk averse, all the way to 50, which is like super high risk tolerance, right? And this was in the context of investing, I think. But then I thought, yeah, that's pretty much aligned with how I always lived my life, and to this day, how I live my life.
Because I feel like that's a problem for a lot of people.
Yeah, and again, there's no judgment because I've never chosen to be this way, right? Like I'm no more. I can't give myself any more credit for being open to risk as I can give myself for being 6'1". I've never worked for it. It's just been given to me, right? So I would never judge someone. I would never call someone a pussy for being afraid to take that step. What I would say to them is, if you don't have that, because you see, some people would see my type of personality, oh, like this guy's just ballsy, he just goes for what he wants. He doesn't give a fuck, right? But some people, and I wouldn't blame them, would see that as like, this guy's a madman, right?
I hear
Quitting
it.
school at 17 in Poland, coming to London without speaking or barely speaking any English, without money, starting a business with nothing, being 5K in credit card debt. You could see it as madness, or you could see it as ballsiness. It depends how you look at it, right? But that's where we come in as coaches, to sometimes fill the gap between someone's idea to do something and them actually executing on it. For us to be that push, right? To say, listen, to use the analogy of like climbing. I've never done any rock climbing, right? But like, you usually see a person climbing and there's someone, right? Like there's a name for it, I'm sure. Like making sure that if in case you fall, you don't really fall, you don't hurt yourself, right? So there'll be one way to describe my role as a coach. Like, listen, I don't care if you're a 17-year-old or billionaire. Like, listen, whatever it is that you want to do, I'm gonna be there in your corner from start to finish. I'm not gonna let you fall. Like that's out of the fucking question, right? So like, you have that safety. I'm the safety net, right? And believe me, the people who come to me, they're not your average Joes who are like afraid of that. They are as ballsy as they come. But even the ballsiest of the ballsy, myself included, benefit from external support.
Of course,
Who won't benefit from a safety net? It's just nice to have.
You need that little push. I feel like the problem I see with like the current society, with any area of life, it's the safe way of going about it. And then within the safe way of going about it, you possibly settle for things you don't really want. And then it's like, you look like the madman right now because you've gone against the grain. But when I start to look at, say, some of the most successful people in the UK, or like podcasters, etc., they took that risk. They found a passion, and look, they probably did fail along the way. But to be where they are right now, they do things that are unimaginable. They don't play it safe. When I look at some of the YouTubers as an example, when I listened to the episode, Stephen Bartlett and Mr. Beast, he said, I wanted to be the best YouTuber out here.
I've watched that,
And he said, to be the best YouTuber, I had to do things that no one else would do. Like, no one wants to live my life. They don't want to be traveling, I think, 300 days on a flight, or like consistently all the time. Like, you don't want that madness. But I do that madness so that I can get the videos and the content that gets the views. I'm the best YouTuber for that reason. I
saw that episode. Remember when he was talking about how this was the most impressive part of his story, when he said when he was a teenager, he had those YouTube buddies. I think it was 4 of them, and they would get together for hours analyzing shit to do with YouTube. And I thought, that's the level of commitment. Like I'm listening to this interview or some other interviews with him, and I'm like, yeah, no wonder he dominated, because he was willing to do what others are not willing to do. Not because he's a smart guy, but is he smarter than most of other YouTubers? No, he's not. And he would say it himself.
Yeah.
He would say it himself, am I smarter than most of coaches out there? No, I'm not. Right? But I was willing to do the things most coaches were not willing to do.
Yeah, you probably do the things I don't do. And that's a story for another day. But no, I respect it, because it's like I made the transition. I started coaching 26, 27 after like COVID. And then we tried it full time. This is when I found out about you, and I thought, I ain't got the capabilities doing this. I'm going to go back into work, carry on making a steady income, coach on the side, find my feet, and then I've now gone into it full time, and I love it. I love the lifestyle I'm able to live. I like the fact that I can podcast and golf and do all of this other shit. But it's still scary as fuck. It's scary when you're thinking, all right, well, things are going up right now. You can't just plateau. How do you level up even more? How do you find different type of clientele to work with? How do you appeal to a different audience? Because it's the same conversation, just at a different table. But the imposter syndrome comes back in. And then it's like, do you risk it? And do you work with that coach to get that extra push? Or should you start investing in these certain courses, etc., etc.? And my way of looking at it is, the safe way of going about it will keep me as where I am. If I want to level up and I want to push, I'm going to have to get assistance to get me there. And when I'm there, will I still need them? Probably not. And then you reach for the next bar and the next bar. And I feel like when I see successful entrepreneurs and how they've gone about their way, I listen to, let's say, Gymshark, for instance. His journey was very simple. He started with a t-shirt, an idea, and then all of a sudden realized he can't do the marketing. He couldn't do the finances. So he hired people to do it for him.
Yeah.
And then as that company expanded, he went away and tried to learn how the business operated before he then took his role at the top again.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of people are afraid of taking that risk right now.
Yeah.
To get help, get assistance, and make a difference. Like, life doesn't have to be that simple.
Yeah.
You can dream and try and reach for the stars if that's what you really want.
Yeah.
But we're so conditioned to say, no, I'm not good enough, so I just will play it safe.
For me, the biggest risk of all is to find myself on the fucking deathbed at the age of 80 or 90, look back and say to myself, I was too much of a pussy to do that thing that I wanted to do.
All right.
For me, that's the biggest risk of all.
I feel that sometimes, and I feel like I still am. I let myself down when I look back on opportunities and could have just done that, bro. Why didn't you just do it? And it's funny, people will come up to me and be like, yo, you got all the confidence. What are you talking about? The way you talk on camera, the way you really help people. And I'm like, yeah, but sometimes I feel like an imposter, and I feel like there's something there.
Same. But this is it's I had exclusive access to hundreds and hundreds of high achievers through one-to-one coaching. I've built very intimate relationships with many of them through the nature of my work. Because of that, I got to know them at a very deep level, at the level where sometimes I don't think their own spouses, if they had spouses, knew them at. And to your point, many of those people, no one in the right mind would expect to have any self-doubt because how they come across, right? And perhaps many people see me as one of those people who don't know me very well would see me as one of those people because I was like, the loudest person in the room, right? That doesn't mean that every now and then I don't wake up feeling like shit. Not shit as in I'm shit, just lousy, just like sad or like lonely, right? Like having all the fucking human experiences that all healthy humans have, right? But here is the difference between amateurs and pros. The difference is not that pros or winners in life or the people who manage to build 10 out of 10 lives for themselves. The difference is not in the fact that the winners never wake up feeling like that, never feel like they lack motivation, never feel lazy. We all experience those emotions. We all experience those moments. Every human being, every healthy human being on the planet. The difference is that the pros decide what they need to do and they do those things regardless of how they feel, whereas amateurs only do the things they know they need to do when they feel like doing them. So going to the gym is a prime example for me, because I absolutely don't enjoy, you mentioned golf, I don't enjoy any level of fitness. Any.
Yeah.
Right? Any. I don't like sweating. I don't like doing anything physical, anything that requires physical effort, right? So mental effort, I'm your guy. I can have conversations like this for hours every day, right? But physical effort, not my thing, right? I still haven't missed a work once, unless I was traveling or I was sick in the last 14 years. I go to the gym 3 times a week, no matter what, for the last 14 years. Not because I enjoy it. I don't. It's because I've made a commitment to myself 14 years ago, or 13 and a half years ago, that this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it on a particular day of the week, so Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays for me, at a particular time of the day, regardless of how I feel, right? And I apply the same principle to all other areas of my life. For example, in 14 years of coaching, I have never canceled on a client or prospective client. Now, I appreciate that probably I take it to the extreme, unnecessary extreme, because I would push through flus and colds and COVIDs, and unless I'm going to be in hospital or arrested, I have no plans of canceling on people last minute, right? I just push through it, right? And it's not because, back to what I was saying before, I always wake up, especially given the nature of my work, I always wake up pumped and motivated and empowered, to help someone to feel empowered themselves. But if you make that commitment to yourself, then it becomes non-negotiable. If you want to be successful in life, you gotta pick a bunch of things which you believe are necessary in order for you to become successful, whether it's in a given area or in life in general, and you gotta make those things non-negotiable, right? The same with replying to my clients or prospective clients within 24 hours. There's never been a time in 14 years of me doing it where I didn't reply, and all my clients have 24/7 access to me, right, by WhatsApp. There's never been a time, no matter how I felt, no matter what's been happening in my life, that I haven't replied to a client within 24 hours. Not because it's always so easy and I'm always so motivated to do that. Sometimes I really don't want to fucking reply, right? Especially if they ask me a complex question that requires a lot of mental bandwidth. But because I've made this commitment to myself and I've announced it to them, every new client knows that I'll always get back to them within 24 hours. Like it's written in one of the things I send to them before we start. So when I think about my life and I think about why I am where I am in my life, I know it's nothing to do with my IQ level. It's nothing to do with certainly not with my education level, which there's none. Because not only I haven't finished any other school than the primary school, I haven't done any courses, any diplomas, any qualification. I don't even have a driving license. Right? So it's not about anything like that in the traditional sense. Don't believe the society, don't believe your parents when they say to you, you have to have a college degree. You absolutely do not have to have a college degree, especially now in 2025 with the rise of AI. You absolutely don't need to worry about things like that. If you want to have a college degree, by all means, go and get a fucking college degree. As long as you are the one who won it for you, not somebody else. I'm not against, this is not like, fuck the traditional education, fuck this or fuck that. All I'm saying is, fuck everything that doesn't feel aligned to you.
Yeah, and what you want. I hear it. It's so easy, I think, for like someone like yourself to say, I say the same thing over and over again to my clients. Fuck what they think. What is it that you want right now? What do you want from the situation? If you don't want to go to work tomorrow, call in sick. Like, if you don't feel in the right frame of mind to be with that person anymore, walk away. Like, you can make that decision. But all of this bullshit pressure that comes on from outside noise, and it gets in the way. I love the fact that you have these non-negotiables though. Yeah. And they are it's what you like. It's what you're known for. It's what you're committed to. This is how
principles, fundamentals, whatever we call it, and even like on this is like I just gave you some like key examples, but like it's down to how much wine I can drink at any given time, right? And I'm super precise with that, because I know that if I go beyond that level, my sleep will be affected to the point where I'm gonna feel suboptimal the following day, right? So like everything, you know, like the diet, right? Like I'm not super strict on my diet, but like I'm 95% strict on my diet, right? You know, and the fitness and the sleep. Okay, what time do I need to be in bed? What time do I need to be asleep by? You know, so I can wake up and be fresh, so I can do my work. So like everything for me, because I don't have a family by choice. So I see my clients. I have my parents and my sister in Poland, but you know, my clients are like my second family, if you will. Like my team, I have a little team. So they're like my second family, and my clients are my third family, right? But everything is optimized for my clients, right? So how much sleep do I need to get to be at my best for my clients? How much can I drink the night before
To turn up
to be still at my best? So there's no compromise when it comes to the quality of my coaching, the way I show up, right? Because I do like women, I do like wine. This is controlled, and this is only used in quantities that do not affect the most important thing in my life. So like another thing about, you know, call me a bit old-fashioned when I speak like that, but I think one of the things that makes a man or a guy a real man is the core principles that he lives by. If you are 20 or 25 and you're not clear on those, that's okay. But when you get to 30, 35 and you don't have clear principles that you live by, you're not a man yet. You are a boy, right? Who looks like a man, right? But you're not a man, because to me, a man has a set of non-negotiable principles. I'm not talking about the fucking gym and stuff like that. I'm talking about actual principles, like, you know, I don't lie in a professional capacity, for example. I do lie in my dating life. I do lie to my mother sometimes, you know, just to protect her from herself.
Yeah.
But I never lie to my clients.
Yeah.
I never lie to my prospective clients. When I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, right? You wouldn't know that, but if I didn't show up here today, the only reason could be, you know, I got in a, you know, car crash on my way here, right? Like if you knew me very well, and if I didn't show up, it's like something happened.
Yeah.
Like something happened, because it would be so out of character for me to just like,
You're committed.
like forget, or like, you know, so yeah, like when I commit to something, when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it to the best of my ability, or I just don't commit to it at all.
Yeah.
Right.
It's very black and white.
Yeah, it's very black and white, and also like the more black and white your principles are, the easier they are to follow as well. Because if you're like, oh, but like, you know, it's kind of like grayish, then it's like, it's easier. It's like you know, it's like being pregnant. You're either pregnant or not, right? It's not like you can't be half
That's
pregnant.
a bit difficult though.
It's not easy. However, it gets easier over time because it becomes habitual. Right? So it's very easy for me, or easy, let me put it this way, let me rephrase that. It's easy enough for me to go to the gym 3 times a week, every week, no matter what, because after 13 and a half years, it became a habit. It became a habit a long time ago. Meaning that if I wouldn't go to the gym on a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, unless I'm sick, I would feel like something is not right.
Yeah.
Like, you know, even though when I'm there, I don't enjoy it.
I hear you. I'm the same now in terms of like, I would say like my personality, since I've started embracing being more and more unfiltered, I've had like, I wouldn't say family squabbles, but disagreements in regards to my thought process. And I have to reel it back into like my parents and other friends. I'm like, listen, if you're telling me right now I need to follow something you're telling me I should do versus something I don't want to do, I'm not being true and authentic to myself. I think we need to, if you keep pushing me down a direction where I'm playing your game to possibly uphold
your idea of what's
all of that bullshit,
what I should be or who I should.
Am I being truly myself? And isn't that what you've kind of brought me up to do? To be authentically me. Now, me and you might not see eye to eye on a number of things, but that's totally okay. We're not meant to. But don't make me feel guilty or bad for now wanting to follow this way of life and going about things in this direction just because it's not the normal. Well, it's not normal. It's not everyone's cup of tea.
Yeah.
But I feel like it does. it does cost you when you are very like black and white. And like the question I had written down here, what's it cost you truly being unapologetic in your style of coaching and in like your way of life? Because people might look at myself and look at you and think, damn, they're just straight to the point.
Yeah.
They don't fuck around.
Yeah.
But I guarantee you it comes with things that aren't ready for a lot of people to just digest and endure.
There's definitely a cost to living your life from a place of radical authenticity, which is how I try to live my life, not just from a place of authenticity, but radical authenticity. But I would argue that not living from that place is even more costly, right? So whichever way you go, there's going to be some cost associated to it. I believe that the cost of not being authentic is greater than the cost of being authentic. And the biggest cost, I will have experienced that, but I would argue that the biggest cost would be, again, you're on your deathbed and you look back and say, fucking hell, I've lived 80 or 90 years as a fraud. Yeah. I wasn't being true to myself, right? And I was lying to people about who I was and how I felt, you know. I say, fuck all of that. I'm going to be who I want to be. I'm going to do what I want, how I want. I'm going to say what I want, how I want to say it. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can go and fuck themselves. Because I'm not here to be liked. I'm not here to be popular. I'm not trying to win popularity contest of any kind. I'm here in this world to live my life on my terms, to be truthful and honest with myself. And sure enough, worry not, because I promise you, and I can promise you because I can speak from experience, if you do that, right? If you do that, there will be enough people who will like you and respect you for the way you are, right? And equally, even if you try to fucking live like a saint, there's gonna be at least one motherfucker who's gonna hate that about you, right? So right. You can't win. You can't win in a sense that you can't do anything or you can't be anyone in a way that you'll get approval from everyone anyway. So you might as well be true to yourself, like yourself in the process, which is the most important thing. Because when you think about it, if you fully accept yourself, like I fully accept myself with all my strengths and all my weaknesses, with all my imperfections, I'm untouchable. No one, including my mother, who is the most important person in my life, including my team who I love, including my clients who I love, no one other than myself has the power to make me feel bad about myself.
I respect it.
I can make myself feel bad about myself, which I do sometimes. I try not to, but sometimes it's just like, it just happens, right?
When that does happen, what happens for you? Because I wrote down here, I was like, behind the filter for yourself right now, there are going to be times where you are alone and you don't have the answers. Mm-hmm. And for someone who's so against the grain in regards to fuck everyone else, if you don't like me, cool. What do you do when you're in that scenario? Because I know, kind of like what you said, on the back of my t-shirt, it says, Unfiltered, you weren't meant to fit in. And that's kind of like the brand I want to push. Mm-hmm. Be authentically you all the time. Mm-hmm. But I also know by me doing that, I separate myself from a group of people, not purposely, but just because of the way my mind works, that it's going to be a lonely journey.
Yeah.
And when I don't have the answer, when I'm alone, it's a shit feeling to try and get yourself out of that negative headspace to then be able to crack on and go back to those non-negotiables.
Yeah. So I'm certainly not alone, because even though I'm single and I live by myself, I have a lot of great people around me. And because of those relationships I have built with clients, I was telling you about those often very deep, intimate relationships. And because I've had so many clients over the last 14 years, right? Because just so many years I've been doing it for. I feel like I have a lot of allies across all sorts of different industries, right? So I feel pretty much invincible.
You feel you got people in your corner regardless.
To be honest, like I feel invincible. And you know, if you saw me fucking like walking out of the house, it's like I walk around Mayfair as if I owned it. Right? Because that's my fucking mindset, you know. Like people sometimes ask me, like, "Aren't you afraid to like, walk around Mayfair with your watches on. I'm like, it never even crossed my mind because of the way I carry myself. It's not because of you can see yes, I'm 6'1", but other than that, I mean, look at me. It's it's not about the physical size. It's about the attitude,
Mentally.
right? Yeah, I feel not in an arrogant way. I just feel like I'm the fucking guy. Who in the right mind would think that they would be able to steal a watch from me? Not that I'm
not violent, but I know what you're trying to say.
I'm a pacifist, but I'm gonna fucking kill you before you take my watch, because I fucking worked for this watch. So if you ask me nicely, I might give you some money. But if you try to take it from me by force, I know it's fucking stupid, but because you can get yourself killed by just trying to defend one of your core values of hey, listen, you can't get anything from me by force. You can get a lot from me if you are nice to me, right? Because I'm a fucking big softie underneath this persona, right? That's from my mother's side. But if you try to force me to do something or to say something, it's probably not gonna go down very well. So what I'm trying to say is this fucking mindset, which is definitely I don't believe that greatness of any kind can be built, whether it's a great life or being great at something. I don't believe that greatness can be built in separation. It's always a team effort, right?
Yeah.
And when I think about my quote unquote team, it's definitely my parents, it's definitely my team. It's a small team, but we are very close. It's my clients, not just the existing clients, but the clients, I'm still in touch with some of the clients I've worked with 10 years ago, right? And when I say in touch, I don't mean that we call each other or we have fucking coffees every week, but we are in each other's lives. We know we have each other's backs, right? And some of those people happen to be, in a position of power, in a position of influence, right? And I have great relationships with them. Sometimes they send me the children for me to work with them. So I would finish with them, and now the children are of age, and now it's and then those children who have children, I'll be like, hey, listen, this newborn, I will see them in 18 years, yeah. So don't worry, if they start to hang out with the wrong crowd, I will sort them out for you, right? So it's a very much my approach with coaching has always been how let me rephrase that, because it wasn't from day one. I didn't have those thoughts and realizations from day one, but over time, or relatively quickly, within I can't remember, a year or two, maybe 3 years, I've concluded that as coaches, we are not in a coaching business, we are in a relationship business, right? And if we approach it this way, we don't need to worry about money. The money side of things will take care of itself, right? If we treat our clients as human beings first, if we really position we don't just say, it's very easy to say oh, I'm going to be in your corner. Yeah, it's on my website, but it's very easy to fucking say it. What's harder is to make someone feel
that you're there for them.
That you are in the corner. And I remember it was very touching for me when one of my former clients, Manuel, he said in a video testimonial, which is on my website, he said something like, how he always says, like I said to you before, my clients have 24/7 access to me via WhatsApp, right? 24/7, 365. And one of the things he said, which I'll never forget, he said how throughout the whole process, and we worked together for a few months, he said how throughout the whole process he felt that I had his back. And that's probably the biggest compliment a client could give me, because that's my intention, right? But I'm not going to be saying, hey, listen, I have your back, I have your back, I have your back, I have your back, because it's just words, right? I know I have the backs, right? But him saying that confirmed my suspicion that my clients, I think that I have their back, because that's my intention, right? So it's not just okay, this is a source of income for me. Yes, there's money involved, of course. But it's never been about the money. It's always been about the love of it. That's why, as I said, I enjoyed coaching at £20 per session, no less than I enjoy it now. I really don't. Somebody could say, oh yeah, of course he says he loves it because, look how much he charges and how much money he makes and what kind of lifestyle he lives on the back of it. But I remember how I felt in 2012 when I finished a year on 34K. I remember how great I felt. I thought to myself, wow, I've made 34K without work. How is that even possible, right? And back then I was working 7 days a week. from the first minute to the last minute, but it didn't feel like work. And I was like, wow, I've made as much money doing this as I did working as a retail manager, working for the companies I didn't give a shit about, having bosses. Not always, I had some great bosses sometimes as well, but I had some awful bosses as well. So working for fucking idiots sometimes, doing something I didn't want to do during the hours picked by somebody else.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Right? Not having that freedom. And there are people listening to this who are in employment. There's nothing wrong with employment as long as you don't mind it. Not everyone is made to be an entrepreneur or a business owner. Yeah. I'm not an entrepreneur, I'm a business owner. I'm the first one to say, as much as I love being a business owner, and I can't imagine working for somebody else, no matter how much you would pay me, I'm at this point completely unhireable, unemployable, right? At the same time, I recognize that it's not for everyone.
It isn't.
Yeah. So don't be like, oh, like this influencer on Instagram said that, you should start a business. Like, it's not for everyone. And it starts with that thing that we talked about, which is like, what's your risk tolerance? Because if you are really risk averse,
you want to go for it.
Running a business of any kind, it's definitely not for you. You're gonna have fucking sleepless nights. You're gonna be awful to be around because the level of stress you're gonna carry is gonna be noticeable to people around you.
Yeah.
So and then imagine like on a practical level, imagine the world where everybody's an entrepreneur, like and business. Like who's gonna work for those businesses?
Exactly.
So we need the nurses, we need the fucking firemen, and like using those two as an example is like, I often talk about how much pride I have in being a life coach and how important my job is, but then I'm also acutely aware that all life coaches could disappear from the face of the planet tomorrow and the planet would continue, business as usual, right? But think about what would happen if all the nurses were to disappear from the face of the planet.
Yeah.
All the police officers were to disappear from the face. All the fucking bin collectors. Yeah. The rubbish collectors will disappear from the planet, right? So yes, our job is important. My job is important, but I'm like a plastic surgeon, right? I'm someone who helps someone to turn the average-looking nose into fucking most beautiful-looking nose. That's my job, right? And if they can afford it, why not doing it? If that's gonna help you.
This is kind of like what I wanted to like hone back into the podcast. Before, I felt like it was always like an interview kind of style.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to going back to the roots of what this is meant to be, having someone sit in the chair and talk about things that people are going through, but they're too afraid to talk about.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate the fact of how you've gone from talking about your story into real life scenarios that people who are afraid to talk about it can actually listen to this and actually think, you know what, fuck, I'm actually in that boat right now and I want to work on my risk and I want to start changing things up and even in the smallest way. And I feel like your stories and how you've helped people is generally going to add a lot of value to the audience. So I just want to say a big thank you on my behalf for you coming through. And I'll plug in all of your details so that if anyone wants to get in touch, they can see it on the YouTube screen and all of that nonsense. And I'll put it all in the bio and that. But from someone who's been following you from like a while back and never thought I'd be able to like have this conversation with you, big thank you on my behalf for you being able to come through and getting Unfiltered. Really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you lot for listening to another episode of the Unfiltered podcast. If you've liked what you listened today, drop us a like. If you've got any comments in regards to what we spoke about, if there's something you disagreed with or there's stuff that you did agree with, drop us a comment. And lastly, if you haven't subscribed yet, give us a subscribe. Whether you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, or if you're watching this on YouTube, every subscribe goes a long way. And look, why wouldn't you subscribe? If you like the unfiltered nature of the podcast, surely you want to be in tune to whenever the next episode is coming out, right? Anywho, I'll catch you in the next episode of the Unfiltered podcast. It's been your boy Pri, and I'm signing out. Peace.